alongside several health organizations in Lebanon and globally as well, working on sustainable programs, particularly with SDG 3, good health and well-being. And so social entrepreneurship in the MENA region goes beyond business. It's about bridging social gaps, fostering inclusion, and empowering communities. Many youth-led ventures are filling critical service gaps where public systems fall short. And I'm very excited to be hearing from these amazing individuals on this panel about the ventures that they're working on. So let's start off. Before we get into brief introductions, I'd like to go into some housekeeping. If possible, we'd love to see your beautiful faces. So if you can keep your video on, that would be great. If not, we totally understand. We would also appreciate if you can show your name and company. Feel free to unmute, especially towards the end. We want to make sure we have a robust Q&A. And for any technical questions, feel free to visit zoom.us/support or raise your hand or just notify us in the chat section. Also, if you don't want to speak and you want to send questions in the chat, we also welcome any interventions in the chat box throughout this session. And don't forget to enjoy the conversation. So the agenda for this session, we'll start with some welcome and introductions from our panelists. We'll set the context, have a panel discussion, and then end with a Q&A and some closing remarks. And so with that, I'd like to pass it over to our panelists. I am here with Adnan, Haya, Abbas, and Carlos. So Adnan, why don't we start with you, if you can briefly introduce yourself, and then we'll pass it over to Haya.
Sure. Thank you so much, Christine. Thank you, Carlos, for the invitation. It's been great to be joining here. So my name is Adnan. I am a co-founder and current president of L-Space Social Innovation Hub in Tunis. We've been working in social innovation and social entrepreneurship, and especially supporting social entrepreneurs in Tunisia for the past 10 years. So yeah, we celebrated our 10th anniversary a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, looking forward to this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Haya?
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Hayat Qubati. I'm originally based in Yemen. I'm a medical student by profession, also a member of the Catalyst, and now MENA, and the co-chair of the Catalyst Youth Global at the Catalyst now, and simply an SDG youth advocate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Abbas?
Thank you so much. My name is Abbas Sibai. I am the co-chair of Catalyst Now Lebanon chapter, along with Dr. Jackie Malouf, who's also the co-chair for the Lebanon and the MENA chapter. My background is in public policy. I'm a co-founder of an organization that's called Change Pulses, and work more on policy advocacy focused with vulnerable communities. And my focus within the SDG is have a different ranges between 11, 12, 13, 15, and 16 is particularly more close to my heart as working on peace building. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Abbas. Carlos?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Christine and Catalyst here. And so my name is Carlos, and I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm very passionate about the environment and, social work generally. So basically, I work in Lebanon currently, and I'm the founder of Waste Treasures, where we turn waste materials such as forest prunings into biomass energy in the shape of pellets that you can burn in your boilers, heaters, etc. That is for lower cost and environmentally friendly. And I also help a lot of businesses in here in Lebanon as a business developer and programs management. I help them raise funding, understand their impact, showcase themselves to partners, and work on their impact more within internally. So that's what I do, and I'm very excited to be here on the panel today. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Haya, I'd like to start with you. Given your experience, how have young people across the region used innovation and social entrepreneurship to address local challenges despite the political and economic barriers that so many of us face in our region constantly?
Thank you so much for raising that very important questions. And for me to start with, I think that youth in our region are showing that innovation does not need perfect conditions. And it just needs courage, creativity, and also the support of the community. Um, Sadly, despite the political instability and economic barriers, young people are still building solutions where system falls short. And I think if we recall or shed the light on different youth-led social enterprises that are addressing the unemployment, definitely Tunisia would come to my mind because they had many green innovation and circular economy models that youth has replicated, where they successfully created jobs while protecting the environment. And to think of the dear Lebanon, of how many young entrepreneurs have built like digital learning platforms and community hubs to sustain education during the crises. I think of the port and the tragedy that has happened, and how many social entrepreneurs, especially youth, has come to bridge the gap that was created during that crisis when the, let's say, government efforts was not like enough during that time. And also to talk about Yemen, we can see that during the conflicts and disruption of basic services that many young people, especially young women who are often sadly excluded from decision making seats, but are leading local peace building. And I've seen many women's work as mediators. And many youth are stepping up to work on renewable energy, and many social enterprises initiatives that had not only met a need of a service, but rather they brought stability and hope to their communities. And not to dig deep into those details of how it was created, but rather to amplify the voices of those youth from different regions, whether it's Tunisia, Lebanon, Egypt, Yemen, and the list goes on. So all these efforts, they just remind us that youth in the MENA region are not waiting for opportunities. They are creating it, and they are redefining what progress look like, whether they're turning frustration into innovation with all the given limited resources into a really collective impact. And we have seen that whether they're joining a simple network, whether they're using their voices, their area of expertise. So even if they do not work on field, they're still in a way or another trying to overstep those barriers, whether it's on a local level or on a global level. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Haya. And to that point, how would you describe the role of Catalyst MENA, given that the youth movement is relatively new to the Catalyst now?
Great question. I was about to brag being a member, but thank you for okay, this is what I came to talk about. To be honest, when I first joined, it was just like a simple member, but then I really felt I would say the spark of, oh yeah, we can always have a seat at the table. But joining as a member, it's the best part is you can always feel the sense of belonging, whether you're part of a chapter, part of the region, part of the global network, because there's always cross communication maintained between different chapters and regions, where you always feel super connected and very responded to. So we had high hopes. As now we are filling the seat of having being a co-chair of the global mechanism. I remember when it first started, we had this high expectations, we want to change the world and we want to make this a global impact community, and we want to, but the best part is that they did not only let us plan, but they brought us to see at the table. So there is this collaboration council where youth would come and set up priorities of what we need to work on, what's the upcoming projects, and how we can make a collective impact. So whether you come from the MENA region, and alongside my colleague who's Andreas for the Latin America. So these two different continents where we do have a huge number of youth, but still we received all the support, whether it's capacity building, whether it's to be represented, whether it's to local policy spaces, whether it's to amplify the voices and connect the dots of existing work of many youth who are within the network or outside the network. So it's not limited to our work here, but rather to how we can amplify the existing work of youth. So I did not even feel a bit of like within all the support given to us, whether it's like speaking opportunities, whether it's a representation opportunities, whether to come up with ideas, would have consultations, to have the connections and the, let's say the authority to talk to other youth councils within the Catalyst Now, whether it's like as a MENA representative or as a Catalyst Now representative. So I've always like felt this volume and value of my voice given this like opportunity. So it's more like a great mission where we need to kind of like I would say value, but also to feel the sense of responsibility alongside it.
Thank you so much. And I think having that network and being able to, as you said, like the sharing of experiences between different countries and continents, the case studies and learning from one another really goes to the collaboration that Catalyst Now and the different chapters bring to the table. And so with that, you had mentioned Tunis, so a perfect segue into Adnan. You mentioned as the founder of L Space, and congratulations on 10 years. That's very exciting. You're a pioneer in Tunisia's social innovation scene. What inspired the creation and how has the mission evolved since its beginning? If you can please speak to that.
Sure, of course. And thank you, Haya, for mentioning Tunisia as well. It's been an exciting 10 years or like 15 years of Tunisia's development after the revolution. So yeah, Alspace started by a couple of friends, basically. We are all entrepreneurs. We each have had our own businesses. One person had in IT, web development, another one in mobile development, another one just a normal like neighborhood business. And I at the time I was still at university, and it was we wanted to have a co-working space. And then we said, okay, cool, we'll rent the space down, and then we'll basically start a co-working space. And at the time, this was like early 2013, where the idea came up. And then when we started, it took us about 2 years to get the nonprofit license, because it was very difficult to get it, because it's you know, a nonprofit co-working space. Like the government was like, why do you want a nonprofit co-working space while you can do it as a for-profit? So because of taxes and stuff. And then we said, okay, we wanted to do a nonprofit so that all the money generated or all the revenues of the co-working space will advise or will fund programs we do for youth and for basically the community. So we started like that officially in 2015, and then we evolved about a year later into a social innovation hub, because we discovered, or like we learned, that we are not just a co-working space. We have mentorship programs, we have incubation programs, acceleration programs, hackathons, social entrepreneurship support programs. And that was like a lot of interest about social entrepreneurship was happening, and many initiatives were coming up, but then they still don't know. If they know too much about managing their finances, they don't know a lot about the impact in operations, or if they know about the impact, they're not good at finances. So like we established as a hub to basically offer resources, like space, in addition to also mentorship and advice. And then we evolved. We just kept evolving. We opened different locations also in Tunis, and we did programs across the country. So now we have 3 locations in Tunis, in different places with complementary resources. So one of the spaces is about a fab lab, basically. So we have 3D printers and laser cutters, and basically trying to get the young innovators who are more on the technical side of things to basically use that tech for social good, and learn, like, get a profit from it. And basically, yeah, it's been an interesting experience, and it is still growing. So yeah, this is the story in short.
Thank you so much for sharing. That is very exciting, actually. And given my background in media and communications, I'm sure you're using social media and digital tools in order to get the word out there. And those are tools that we should all be using, especially given the youth and how most of us are on these social platforms as a way to lower the barriers and trying to get the work that we're doing out there. And so I'm a huge advocate of anything digital, and we appreciate everything you're doing, and I wish other countries also implement similar models to what you're doing, Adnan. With that, I would like to go to Abbas. Drawing from your work at Change Pulses and also your partnership and experience with multiple international organizations such as UNICEF and many others, can you please talk about the policy innovation and ecosystem building that you've been working on?
Thank you so much, Christine, for this. And I'm really inspired by the intervention that have been shared by Haya and also by Adnan. Haya have shared kind of the positive aspect of like kind of the innovation and the youth power. And also Adnan have shared more on things focused on kind of the contribution to the ecosystem. So maybe I would say that like kind of other side, like not onto the hype of the full positivity side and the positive hype that is happening in the MENA region. So I want to talk more about the policy and the regulatory challenges. In the MENA country, including Lebanon, social enterprises are not kind of legally recognized, as most of youth innovators are forced to register either as an NGO or as a commercial entity. So each has its own limitation. So if I want to say back to, or like to quote my recent reading on the British Council of 2020 about social enterprises report focused on Lebanon, that the absence of legal status restricts access for youth enterprises to finance, public procurement, and long-term stability and the sustainability. So this is a real problem. While, for example, our colleague Adnan, like now, due to regulatory framework that happened in Tunisia back in 2020, they passed not just a social enterprise law, but they passed a social solidarity economy law, which is super advanced in Tunisia, and I'm really proud. And I'm being inspired from the Tunisian model in order to interact it with the Lebanon model as we are working with other colleagues on certain policy to support the ecosystem and the youth innovation. And also that I would like to stress in particular more on the OECD stress that without a legal framework, social entrepreneurship or social enterprises will remain preferred, like they will not be the core for the public policy and the economic planning. So if we don't really work and to keep on as young people, as social entrepreneurs, social enterprises in the making, and also to have a support, like for example in Catalyst, and also to make it like on the system change that we can work in Lebanon, we will not be as a core. We would be just another entity that will not be able to prove or kind of contribute to the economy as we want. So young innovators are solving the real problems. If I want to say, like I have, like we will hear, like on with Carlos on climate and education, on unemployment, and all these remain disconnected from the policy influence and national strategies. So things are happening in one sphere while the government and everything related where the core funding is another sphere. But what is really needed is to have this to bring, and I believe this is where I can, and I'm trying my best to do this participatory policy making that bring young people and social entrepreneurs into the dialogue with the government, with the municipalities, and also on the regional bodies. So by this, I do the consultation with my enterprise as a Change Pulses to co-create policy, develop the standards, and to ensure there is a proper incentive in place in order to reduce the cap and to promote social innovation, especially in the youth sector. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Abbas, for that great intervention. And I think the key takeaway here is that coordinated effort. And so together, like with what you're doing and through Catalyst now, and we'll get into that later through the panel, I'm really excited to see where we can go with the innovation and with the changing of the systems. And so with that, that's a perfect segue into Carlos. Waste management is a topic that's very dear to my heart. Even when I was in Lebanon and no one was recycling, I was forcing all my friends and family to start sorting their trash. So you're even taking waste to the next level. So can you tell us a little bit about the story behind Wasted Treasures? What inspired you to start this venture? And then get into a little bit about the discussion of circular economy as a vehicle for youth empowerment.
Thank you, Christine. It's actually okay, so we basically usually see waste as a burden, and that's where it all started. And actually, the trigger for us starting, or for me personally to start to get into this field, was around 5 years ago. So basically, we had like a huge crisis, like a fuel crisis, and everyone was not receiving any fuel, any diesel, So people usually here in Lebanon, they heat their houses on diesel, on like fossil fuels. So what happened is like everyone started rushing to the trees, to the forest, and like we saw like a lot of forests being cut down irregularly, and there was no government to kind of follow up on that, because like we had a huge financial crisis. So like things were a bit messy, and there was a huge need for a heating source in a way for people. And then that's where we kind of we tried to see it in a way that it's we don't blame the people, and we blame the systems more or less. So instead of just saying, hey, just stop cutting trees, we were like, okay, well, how can we solve this? And we actually did something that was done before, but like we gave it like a small twist. And that's where I think we need to work on things. That's where we need to focus more. So usually I feel like you have a lot of waste management models out of Lebanon, and why don't we have it over here or in other countries in the MENA region, right? It's just that we can't copy paste everything. We just have to see how to tailor things into every situation, every country, every community, culture, etc. So that's what we tried to do. We brought a product that is a biomass log that is made out of waste, out of the waste of the olives, and this waste of olives, we turned it into logs. Actually, this product was done out of Lebanon before, but it didn't used to make sense before because, fossil fuels or like the diesel was very cheap. And then if you would want to make this product, it would be more expensive. So now that the fossil fuels are very expensive, and, we have an inflation, and there's more inflation every year, then this product is very, it's very less costly, it's environmental friendly, and the rest of the things that come within. So that's how we started, and there was a lot of trials and errors, and it's always the case when you have a new product, a new service, people will be scared to kind of try. And actually what we did is we tried to understand people, talk with them, see how we can evolve this. So this was for Wasted Treasures. Actually, there's also Greenmont Recycling that I work with them as a programs manager. And for Greenmont Recycling, it's more interesting for me because it's full-on recycling. We use all materials. We kind of collect plastic, cartoon. We have like 30 types of materials we collect, including cooking oil. So actually, that's more challenging because the source or the waste, you're not buying it. It's not like in one place. It's a whole community that you have to deal with. And that's where your skills begin to take, to play a role. And I think for us mostly was, to speak with every person in their own language, or like to try to reach people. And I think, Christine, this is also very a topic that would interest you, that, communications is really something nice if you, dive deep in it. Some people prefer, a religious approach. So we started to kind of go to churches, mosques, and whatever, cultural places, sectarian places we have and like in these places. So we started speaking with these people or like with the priest or with the sheikh and just, just convey the message through these influential people. And when it comes to other people that, are not very, maybe they like the environment more. So we would speak to them in that language. So I think when it comes to social innovation, it all lies in the small details, like and understanding, each community what they exactly need. And I feel like we need a lot of more work in Lebanon and in the other countries that we have around us. Like Adnan is doing a great job to, we always need these spaces together and kind of, have the entrepreneurs around us, have the people who have like, the connections, the support, the financials around us, and then you have someone like Abbas, who I'm very inspired by the work, by his work, by the way. We have a lot of policy, a lot of policies that are missing. He mentioned something that is a burden for us, which a social enterprise cannot register as a social enterprise. You have to go and register as a business. So what does this mean? This means that you don't have any support from the government. Um, Everyone on this panel probably know, or like if you don't know, waste management is not profitable. It's very challenging to work with waste, But like we still manage to kind of find our ways to kind of turn these products into, things that would have a very high value and, try to make sustainability kind of profitable and kind of that something that makes sense. So that's it from my side. That's for wasted treasures. I feel like there's so much that I can talk about that we can't, we won't finish. But to wrap up, I would say with these projects that I'm working around, we created over 30 jobs and we are sustaining them. We sustained them in 22, 23, 24. With the war that came in, I think it was very tough for social entrepreneurs, generally entrepreneurs. Things were very tough. So what we're trying to do now with Wasted Treasures, we are still in Lebanon. We are kind of rebooting, relocating due to what happened in the war, but we're trying to put a foot in Jordan and Syria soon, hopefully if things go well, so we can go and work in the region. And for Greenmount Recycling, we stopped operating sadly last month, but we call it a successful project because we sustained this project over 5 years. We diverted over 60,000 pickups, like huge trucks that you can see on the streets, from landfills. And with Greenmount Recycling, what happened is we created this toolkit where we proved that waste management is actually sustainable and can work. And we showed the municipalities that we are working with that, hey, we built this toolkit, we did the design, build, operate, but we didn't transfer it because they're still not ready with the financials and they're still not ready as, kind of management to take this on. So hopefully in the coming months and the coming years, we'll be ready to implement this model as soon as there's readiness. And Christine, I'll keep you updated on this since, you love this topic. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for that, for all that information. I'm sorry to hear that you had to stop operating last month, but I appreciate the enthusiasm and I hope that we're able to implement that on a nationwide level. I think that is truly necessary. And one thing that resonated with me is, as you said, we need to meet people where they're at. And that's something that could be applied with anything and everything wherever we are. And you said, and you mentioned how it's very important that if we get and try to apply projects that may work in different countries, that does not necessarily mean that if we just copy paste that project in a different country, nation, language, that it's going to work. And so it's making sure that those key learnings are implemented to the cultural preferences, to the language, to the ethnicities available. And that's something that many enterprises tend to forget. They just see the case study and want to make exactly the same thing happen in a different country. And so I would just reiterate that meeting people where there are, talking to them in their languages, and that's the importance of having like localized communities working on projects and getting inspired by other bigger international organizations as well. And with that, I know Adnan wanted to speak about Tunisia's law and the experience and where it is now. So I'll go back to Adnan since this seems to be a point of tension in some of the areas in the MENA region. So Adnan, back to you.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Abbas and Carlos. Very insightful work. Just wanted to say also, in Tunisia, you still cannot go and register as a non-profit, as a social enterprise, unfortunately. So we have a beautiful law, but it's not put into effect. However, since 2021 and how the political changes happened, and we transformed from a parliamentary system into a presidential system, there was a presidential initiative to basically create these communitarian companies or communitarian enterprises. In Arabic, it's شركات أهلية. And that's basically for, like, the idea is to further the local development by the local communities. And it is it is very interesting as a law, as a framework, but it was not successful in different countries and throughout the history. So like in Latin America, it's not very successful. However, like as compared to like normal standard cooperatives, in the Soviet Union as well, it was not very successful. So there's a lot of contestation happening, and I here applaud the Tunisian social enterprises because they operate as a for-profit and they have to pay extra taxes and sometimes pay more than the corporations, just because the transparency and the values-driven type of business. And also, if they register as a nonprofit, also it is capped and it's not easy to get actual like impact investing in the standard form. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to share where we are right now in Tunisia. There's still like initiatives. We are in touch with a couple government actors to kind of like see what could be the next steps and how things can evolve and like basically put social entrepreneurship back on the priorities for the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Please do keep us informed. We'd love to see how the policy progresses and what you're able to do so we can try to follow through and apply also in other countries. Yes, Abbas, would you like to say something?
Because like really, this is really interesting and exciting because like what we're trying to do here in Lebanon is not kind of to replicate the same pitfalls that that Tunisia have. What we're doing, because like in Lebanon is based on civil law, which is like very familiar, similar to the French system. And what we took, it is all the burden and the hassles that Tunisian has to go through, and all the lawyers. So what we're taking is drawing all the positive component that the Tunisian law that have, which is really advanced and positive. It is really hard to implement, and with all these political challenges and the changes that happens. So what we're trying is in the Lebanese draft law that is being done is more not going into a full registration of a company, because as Adnan has said, it might not happen and it might have different challenges. So we work more into the label system, which would be a more kind of a hybrid component. So irrespective of your background of a legal entity, it would be more kind of the recognition from a certain entity that you would be, and you would be offered all the incentive. So thank you, Adnan, for sharing this and highlighting on this aspect. So having a policy in place without being implemented and follow up does not mean anything. Still, the cooperation and the collaboration and trust building is more important than the legal. I don't want to say more important than the legal framework. I think it is complementary in order to move forward into that direction. Back to you, Christine, and I hope I did not take much time.
No, that was perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'd like to take a step back and come back to you, Haya. Can you please talk about the importance of creating inclusive spaces, particularly for women and marginalized voices, so they can move from participation into making real influence in decision making? And we know that sometimes that's quite difficult, especially in the MENA region. How can we encourage these marginalized populations to actually take that next step and share their voices?
Thank you so much. I think this, I would actually try to connect it as much to like local living examples of things that I have like noticed during like my fieldwork and so on. As we can see that, so women and youth in general, I would say marginalized group as well. The problem is it's not that they lack the potential, but they lack the access. So when we talk about facilitations for their like entrepreneurship project, whether it's their sustainable project, whether it's their participation, for example, here in decision making, like chairs, they're often being like overlooked because they tend to, I would say, traditional rules that we have come to, and we try to treat them as beneficiaries rather than people that can actually contribute to the local like solutions as well. We do have many projects here, but I would go back to connect it to what Abbas, Adnan has mentioned. If we talk about it like from the global scope of the facilitations and to have the legal framework and like registration, even on the simple initiative where youth can have the access, like generally youth do not have to be marginalized or be related or like labeled under a certain title. They still, in a way or another, like there are many international funds that are ready to fund youth to start their startup projects. The problem is to have the legal entity to have this smooth transition. And I would like to highlight here one of the challenges that I've like seen and observed within the field is that the misuse of youth. So like part of their like conditions and let's say needs is that this startup needs to be led by youth. And that where we would see like there is a misuse of like certain age group where people actually will be like owned by different let's say organizations, they have maybe different how can I say it in a word? Like they have different priorities, but to have that fund, they will use this place like to fill it up by a youth. I wouldn't say like to like have the tokenism, but rather to tick the box so that they will access that that fund. And I've seen that, and I remember like once I was requested to fill up a gap in a certain application under a name like of a youth and women, just because there was like a certain like fund dedicated to whatever. So you join as a volunteer, but then you get to be I wouldn't say misuse, but rather to have fill a space that you shouldn't be filling just because you belong to a certain like group or you belong to a certain age group. And that's like you can see like many examples here existing, especially in Yemen. And to talk in general about the access of the fund, as I mentioned, there is no legal framework that could actually help make startup initiatives like proceed forward or to step up with their entrepreneurship. Whether it's through like, for example, mentorship, whether it's to access the fund, whether it's to have the seat at the table. So now we need to shift the narrative and not be treated as beneficiaries, but rather we need to see what are the needs. And to go back what Christine just mentioned, and I think Carlos as well, it's not one solution size that would fit all. Maybe the challenges for women and marginalized group in Yemen is different from Lebanon and different from Tunisia, and same goes for different countries within the MENA. We need to make sure that not only inclusion, but also the specificity of certain like situations where here the barrier is to have to see the table. Maybe in Lebanon, it's the access to the fund. Maybe it's Tunisia to maybe have women lead projects and so on. These are like examples, but they don't necessarily have to like one solution could fall into like be the magic solution for all of this as well. And I think that we need to shed the light on the importance like of the youth-led innovations through real investments to have them like supported. I don't know, we will wait for the policy that Abbas is going to work on and maybe replicated it into a mock theme where we see if certain project can actually like, you know, move places here where we in like underdeveloped countries, specifically Yemen. So I shared a living example and over back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carlos. I'll go to you in 1 second. You make a great point with the definition of youth, and we've seen that continuously changing, and different countries referring to youth differently. And so I think we're seeing a need to like solidify what we mean when we say youth, specifically specifying the framework behind that. And maybe we can work with Catalyst, and maybe you already are doing that, because I've encountered like multiple definitions to what people categorize as youth, who they are, what are the requirements. And so that's something I did want to point out. Carlos, to your intervention.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of reiterate on what Haya said, and I really think that these spaces are very important. But I'm gonna just give like a quick example. Just take a minute to give you this experience that happened in Lebanon previously, so I can build up my conversation. So I mentioned this in a like an Arab forum that we had, and we were speaking about different things, including why we as youth have to be in policy making or in decision making places. And I started my example by shedding the light on a previous government in Lebanon that actually came in 2020, 2021, and they tried to subsidize 50 products for people in general, so like people can buy for like cheaper, because there was the crisis and everything was going to hell, and like things were crazy. So they forgot to subsidize one product, and that product was actually the sanitary products for women. And actually it was crazy because like it had like this massive clash on the government, and everyone started talking about it. So and why that happened is actually because the same government or the same committee that took the decision in the Ministry of Trade and Economics or whatever, there was not a single woman in that decision making. So this is kind of where I come from, to just mention that it's always the case that, like women, youth, and all the parties, all the groups should be in kind of, there should be the diversity in this decision making and the different groups in that decision making. So coming like building my conversation from here is actually just mentioning or kind of trying to show that also what you mentioned as youth shouldn't always be beneficiaries, and when they come to these places they go out of, like, they start becoming the real drivers of change instead of being the beneficiaries. An example for that could be myself, which basically I was around such networks like the Catalyst networks, youth networks, that actually helped me evolve my skills. And just to mention that I'm someone who dropped out of school at the age of 12, so I didn't have the chance to also continue my education. But like with all these resources, all these, movements, organizations, and like, different places that had all these skills combined and the connections, I was able to kind of, upskill myself, understand everything around me, and like, start growing from there. So I really believe in the work that is being done by Haya through the Catalyst for Youth and other groups. What Adnan is doing, and what everyone else is doing. So I feel like I used to not believe a lot in these kind of things. Like I was like, no, this is not where change comes from. But like then you start understanding that the small details like play like a big difference. So back to you, Christine.
Thank you so much, Carlos. بالعكس, like what an inspiration, and we're glad that we have networks like this that are connecting different people from different backgrounds, not just local and regionally, but also internationally, so we can keep moving forward and trying to implement and fill those gaps, as we know there are a lot of gaps and challenges that we encounter. I'm trying to be mindful of time, so I'd like to ask one question for all of you, and before we open it up to our guests for Q&A. I'll ask the question and then we'll go, if you can just unmute and jump in, whoever would like to go first. Many young people have great ideas, as we were just talking about, but struggle to take that first step. And what advice would you give to the youth who want to start ventures but feel limited or are stuck between the barriers and the resources or don't know how to connect to these networks?
Well, I will take the opportunity to answer. I think that, that I have like kind of like kind of an experience for me that when I met Carlos at like I think 4 or 5 years ago, time passed so fast. In a sense that he kind of really inspired me in a sense of how he's like kind of he shared with me his story, and I couldn't like just not to be able to support him in any possible way, without even I didn't have the means, the resources, or anything at that time. So I think in young people who are that motivated, that inspiring, taking the risk in order to be take the failure component and to own it, and also trying to support their community based on the understanding and listening to the community needs. Um, I think that putting themselves out there is just courageous in a way that make me feel so proud for these young people. I can say more than this kind of heartfelt for every single person who, with all the challenges, with all the economic meltdown, with all the political polarization, with the uh, incredibly increasing poverty rate of 33% now in Lebanon, that young people in Lebanon are still striving, putting their voice there, trying to do something about it and to help. If I want to say like how young people could engage, most of the platforms are open and really willing and trying to like really searching for these young entrepreneurs. I think searching the online could be an opportunity, but also it put us, as for example, on me as a co-chair with Catalyst, it is my responsibility to go there and to search for these young people. So it's a mutual liability, if I want, or mutual work that need to be done. The youth need to continue searching. We need to, and organized organization like Catalyst and many other organizations out in the field, we need to have this voice out there, extend our hand more to these young people in order to find these networks and resources to help. So in Catalyst, as you know, that on the platform, there's a lot of resources that out there that could connect them. And also, for example, partner networks for Catalyst, like for example, Ashoka, Global Shapers, and many other institutions are trying to engage with these networks and with young people in order to have access to be for the voice and for the access for the resources when it's possible. That's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Abbas. Haya?
All right. For me, I would like quote some of the things that Abbas just mentioned. I think it's never about the complex or social barriers, whether it's the finance, whether it's like the challenges in each region. I think it's all built on the resilience of its people, and youth in specific, and women as well. I think we tend to, at this time, to work on what we have until we reach what until all the policies, until all the access to finance, until all the opportunities will be shaped in a way or another. Whether, for example, now through this network as Catalyst, maybe we can start to have like mentorship from like cross-generational mentorship, whether from like, seniors in maybe Egypt, Tunisia, to those in Yemen, who are like just a startup, and maybe we can have replicated models. So sometimes we need to work more on those like accessible opportunities through whether it's the internet, and also the digital, I would say digital access to the word had made things gain more visibility. So we might have a simple idea, but then in a way or another, we can have it like fed through mentorship, have it through like, feedback from expertise. We need to have more patience. I know we need to have more resilience. We need to have this superpower of believing in the light at the end of the tunnel. It's not easy at all, but it's a form of hope in action. We need to think about it that whether it's from like as he mentioned, like jobless opportunities, whether it's unemployment, and how to overcome that. Yet we need to believe in what we have at the moment, no matter how our ideas are like small, or they fall short, or they don't fit into the marble of finance at the moment. But at the end, we need to start something. And I believe youth in the MENA, they don't lack any potential. They just need to be, work hand in hand and take advantage of all the leadership positions they own, whether it's through virtual networks or on field as well. That's my takeaway, and thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Carlos.
I think if there's any youth that will watch this video and get back to this, I feel like my kind of takeaway or what I can suggest is actually just whenever they're working on social projects or whenever you're doing something that is related to social, environmental, or anything that is related to the well-being or the better of this, like the improvement of our future. Actually, just make sure that this project is financially sustainable with everything that is going on financially around the world, with all the fundings that is being cut, especially in our region. I strongly suggest that just try to find the cash cow in that project. It's sad that everything is about money right now, but like that's the sad truth that the world is currently very tough when it comes to financials. So you really need to kind of watch out for that, so you can have a long-lasting impact. And I think some things that I learned throughout the way was actually the active listening. There was a lot of mentors in my way and a lot of people that kind of lended help, such as Abbas. He was amazing at all the things that he had through the coaching, the kind of the trainings. I always seek support from him, and I used to look up to him, and he was this very inspiring guy. And look at me today, I'm just speaking in a panel next to him. That really makes me so happy. But the thing is here that just fail fast, pivot, learn as much as you can, because like there's a lot of resources out there. I believe we need a lot of innovation, but it's not that we need to create something from scratch, because there's not going to be another Thomas Edison. There's not going to be a lot of new creators. It's just about taking this product, giving this edge to it, or tailoring it to whatever your audiences need, your community need, and then that's it. That's your edge. That's your innovation over there. So yeah, kind of. I feel like that's it. Finding your allies also is very important, because you always get the kind of the whole support and everything from there, like from the people who look like you or do the same things as you do. So that's my takeaway here.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Adnan.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, in addition to L Space, I also started a couple of companies and a couple of social enterprises and stuff. And I think a lot of it is just patience and perseverance. Like there are many things that took me basically 3 years to lift off the ground, and then having that patience and especially the support system. It's not only about financials, or like it's like a lot of times it's not about financials. It's about getting clients. It's about resources to build your products. And that's why it's hard to build products, like Carlos mentioned, or hard to build a service. So that's why it's very important to get connected and to network, and also just perseverance and patience. And of course, I echo everything my colleagues have mentioned throughout their journeys. And yeah, looking forward to connect more and future opportunities.
Thank you so much. Well, with that, before we end, I'd like to open up the floor. I know there are some questions, so now it's the time for a Q&A. If you could please raise your hand, state your name, and then if the question's for a specific person, that would also be great. Dr. Jackie.
Well, hello, everyone. It's not exactly a question, it's a comment. First of all, I'm so inspired. Being the co-chair for the MENA region at Catalyst now, the co-chair for Lebanon, and also for MENA Manara, can be titles. But listening to you today gave me one very powerful reason to be in that position. Thank you for everything you are doing two main comments I would like to say. First, your ideas are the seeds of change. This is what you are, the seeds of change. So believe in their powers, nurture them with actions, and they will grow to transform our communities and beyond that, much beyond. And two, I would like to say that in the MENA region, innovation is not a luxury. It may be elsewhere in the world. For us, it's a necessity, and your courage to create is what will shape the future we are all aspiring to see. So, thank you for being who you are. Thank you for thriving despite all the challenges. I heard every single word you said. I've heard it in my heart. I want to say I'm so proud of each and every one of you. I happen to know most of you in person. I had the pleasure to meet Adnan in Tunisia and to share the stage at one of his events. Haya, I admire what you do. I love your passion, although I haven't had the chance to meet you yet, hopefully soon. Carlos, شهادتي مجروحة. I know you through Abbas. You're really a model of social innovator. And Christine, you did a wonderful and amazing job moderating this panel. So I want to thank each and every one of you. It is so far my favorite session at CCW. So thank you for being here, all of you. And I want to address special thanks to the Secretariat team at Catalyst Now. They have done an amazing job curating the sessions, preparing everything. They have worked extra hours and they still have a couple of severe work days to do until this is over. So thank you, Ziad, Lana, I don't know who else was here. I don't believe Nikita was here today, but every single person at Secretariat, we appreciate what you do. We wouldn't have all these wonderful sessions if it wasn't for your hard work. So thank you, much appreciated. And to all of you, big love from the bottom of my heart. And you are our future. So keep doing what you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those comments and for your leadership. Any other questions?
I don't know. I don't want to put Haya and Adnan on spot along with Carlos, but really this discussion, it was inspiring, and this kind of the natural flow that took place on the policy dialogue that's happened. I'm really excited if we can take this session into kind of something more documented in a sense, and to have more something, a tangible product like a paper or something like this. I'm really I thought that your ideas and your contribution could be happening, and we can use Carlos as a case with a as kind of implementer, Adnan as ecosystem, and Haya background with the youth innovation, and we can put things together, and so we have something more tangible. So we have the recording, and we have kind of a blog or a paper. I don't know. We will see how things. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I felt motivated to say this.
If I can jump in very quickly, my colleague Lana, she's from the collaboration team here. And if you're interested in a collaboration as well for the MENA region, Lana will be more than happy to support with that. And I'll be more than happy to support with that as well. We can schedule a meeting and we can see where we can go from there.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ziad. We do have one last question from Howard.
Oh, well, hello, everybody, and thank you
Hello.
thanks for letting me be a part of this. So I'm in the United States, and I don't know nearly enough about your area and what you're talking about and all of that. So some of you may know I wrote a book called Kids on Earth with Harvard Education Press, and I interview kids all over the world. And one of the biggest gaps for me is I just don't know much about the places that you're talking about. I want to change that. I want to learn. So I really appreciate the learning that you provided, but also I don't know how we do this, but perhaps we could set up some sort of a session so that I can understand better, so that we can start interviewing kids in your region as well, which helps me and everybody else understand what it's all about. That's kind of my goal. So I think you guys, some of you know me, I'll put my email address into the chat. So thank you for doing a great job today.
Thank you so much. And as Ziad mentioned, I'm sure the partnership and collaboration team will reach out. We love that you are interested in learning more about the world and specifically our region. We do need more people talking about our region in different ways than it's usually spoken about. So we really appreciate you jumping in. Dr. Jackie.
Thank you, Howard. I want to address what you just mentioned. I happen to be in the US currently myself, and we had several activities with other associations recently. And you're not alone. When I say this, a lot of the people living in the US know little to nothing about our region. They know what's on the news, unfortunately. And I want to thank you because I appreciate your comment. We want people to know us, to know our youth, to know the creativity of our kids. Now, we would be really supportive if you have something like a concept note about what you would like to do. You could share with us. Please, Ziad, if you can share the email with Lana, and your email and Lana's email, so we can look into that, because this is what we want. And I
Yes.
want to tell you something. When I said I'm the chair for MENA Manara, the word Manara means lighthouse. And we wanted at Catalyst, our initiative at the MENA region, to be like a lighthouse, to give a sense of hope and positivity, because our region can also export not just sad news. We don't want that. We can export creativity, innovation, so many positive things. So this is the meaning behind the word. And I really appreciate your comment, and we would be here to support. If you have any specific ideas, we would definitely be supportive of that. And here's Diet dropping his email, so feel free to share it with us, and it would be a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. I have the email in the chat. If somebody would just reach out and send me an email on that address, that would be a good start.
Your email, you mean, is in the chat?
Yes.
I'll share
Okay.
everyone's emails after the session.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With that, it seems like we've reached the end of this very insightful conversation. I'd like to take an opportunity to thank all of the panelists, Adnan, Haya, Carlos, Abbas, and everyone here present. This session was recorded, so it will be posted online. I do believe that the next decade and the several years to come in the MENA region are defined by youth-led innovation, and we're here to tackle the inequalities, the climate change, the inclusive growth. And so keep doing what you're doing. We encourage new folks who are listening to this for the first time and are not familiar with Catalyst to learn more about Catalyst now. It's a dynamic global movement of social innovators. Reach out. We'd love to have you be a part of us. Apply. We're here to support. And I think I saw Haya had a hand up, if you'd like to do a final remark. And then as a digital person, don't forget to follow Catalyst Now or myself, the panelists. We're super easy to find on social media, LinkedIn, communicate with us. This is only the beginning of conversations, and the most important thing is for us to stay in contact. So be sure to check us out on socials and on our website.
Oh, thank you so much. I just wanted to invite you all to attend another youth session, which will be titled like From Conflict to Co-Creation, where youth leading the future of peace. So this is just a humble invitation for everyone to join that, to see how youth are shaping the peace and how they think about it from their perspective. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Haya, and thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
I just want to jump in to say thank you so much, everyone. It was such an amazing session, and it's one of my favorites as well, Dr. Jackie. So You guys did an amazing job. We'll be following up with everyone who attended with notes and recording for the session. We'll be using the session as well in the future. And I hope to see you all again in other bigger, better sessions.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With